Hello, everyone. This is Andreas, pop culture guy. Today is the latest Andreas pop culture retrospective slash review. It's on Groundhog Day, the 1993 film directed by Harold Ramis, starring Bill Murray, Andie MacDowell, and Chris Elliott. Now, if you're sleeping on a rock, under a rock, right, you should know what Groundhog is about. So, we get Bill Murray play Phil Connors, a eccentric and grumpy weatherman in Pennsylvania who goes to Punxsutawney, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, I guess, every year to see if the groundhog sees his shadow for a local television station with his producer, played by the wonderful Andie MacDowell, and his cameraman, played by a low-key but very funny Chris Elliott, as mentioned before. Now, there's two clues to tell if a movie is great: is how often it is copied and how it has become part of the American slang slash pop culture, how you say, sites. And Groundhog Day has happened to be both. Uh, to do it in this comedy slash, drama, you say drama. The laughs are, I say, reinforced by repetition. The absurdity of Phil discovering that he's repeating the same day is funny enough, but every time that alarm clock goes off by the radio playing "I Got You, Baby" by Cher and her former husband, Phil goes through the same motions and meets the same people, and then goes out into the street to be, let's say, sack site by the same annoying high school buddy. What was it? Ned, who famously says Phil Connors. I laugh again at that scene. It's just so totally funny because how reminded me how funny it was the first time. But then multiple viewings ever since a couple years ago, well, like 15 years ago, I first saw this movie with my mom. It's still fantastic and still funny after multiple reviewing. People who didn't like this film, which I don't think a lot of people don't, they really like this film. I mean, one to how you say emphasis. I say, well, I meant one or two people emphasis how annoying it is that everything gets repeated. But I sort of understand that complaint, since the jokes repeat over and over usually fails miserably. Groundhog Day, however, works cynically well because the situation gets increasingly absurd and Phil gets increasingly desperate with each day that fails to pass. The film could have fizzled out quickly had it spent the entire hour or and a half showing Phil meeting the same people and doing the same things time and again. But the fact is, Groundhog Day avoids this fate and is one of his more striking qualities, since the most high-concept comedies of this short part in the third act. Groundhog Day is a rare exception of the one that completely follows through its premise, leading from the initial situation logically to the ending. Only that the Jeopardy scene feels like a skit that could appear anywhere in a 90s comedy during that time. But the scene actually is played wisely. It occurs when Phil is completely increasingly bored and, how you say, depressed, and it's used to separate the two hilarious scenes where he gives another television report. Of course, this is truthful. This is, worship a rap scene. Plus, this is a good example of how to be funny in comedy films, but does not reuse tired and stupid jokes. Instead, his humor comes from the situation and characters they're in. That's pretty good. It is in the middle, centering on Phil attempts to seduce Rhea when the film reveals itself to be more than just a comedy. The underlying implication of these scenes is that Phil's powers are less important than he thinks they are, and he probably could have done the same things just as his exploit with Nancy, a resident towns person in Punxsutawney. Under ordinary circumstances, without the hocus pocus abilities or the time loop, in the end, his powers don't matter because Rhea is too smart and sees right through him. She might not understand the full supernatural implications of the time loop of what he's doing, but she senses that he somehow manipulates the situation, and Phil may think he's a god, but he isn't all powerful. And speaking of Phil, I think this is one of the greatest character development I've seen so far in terms of film. Phil's character development is spectacular. It's convincing largely because he can so easily believe in the situation. You can force him to look inward because he loves such a dear woman as Ria. The only way he could finally impress her is by gently changing himself rather than faking it. The change he undergoes isn't a impossible leap, for he maintains many of the same basic character traits he had at the beginning, even though he becomes kinder and more caring earlier before. Ria says that the ecosystem is Phil's defining characteristic, and indeed, that's very true. And he doesn't stop being eccentric at the end. He merely leads to the learns. Yeah, he learns to channel the eco centricism in a positive direction. I have trouble imagining any other actor having pulled out this off. I think Bill Murray is a perfect choice for Phil Connors. Phil, yeah, Phil Connors, because I had to make sure it's not Phil Connors. Phil Connors. Let me correct that. Phil Connors is spectacular in this film. I mean, Murray is not only a comedic actor to have proven himself capable of dramatic depth, but he's one of the few who can so seamlessly combine his humorness and serious side into the same character. We'll see this again in like Rushmore and his Oscar nomination, Lost in Translation. And he's a master at conveying complex emotions through a apparent deadpan, which he's really good at. He's very good at deadpan. When his delivery sounds stilted in this film, in this film, the effect is intentional, and for he is playing a man whose life has become a script. Everything goes as Phil expressed on the first day, except he is caught in a blizzard and has to stay in the night. The next morning he wakes up and it's Groundhog Day. This pattern happens over and over again until he realizes he cannot escape Groundhog Day. And the time Phil realizes the advantages of knowing what's going to happen before it happens, Murray takes Phil Murray slash the character Connors takes the full comedic advantage of it. However, in this film, it would just could be just a normal run of middle comedy. Mary's character Phil learns and grows and becomes a better person during the course of the film and learns to love the town in which he felt he was trapped in. The chemistry with his co-star Rhea is so wonderful. I mean, Andie MacDowell, really great actress, love her. If you haven't seen her couple projects, particularly The Way Home, Hallmark show, really great. She's really good at that. Highly recommend to check that out. She's really great, and she has good chemistry with Bill Murray in this film, and definitely the heart of the film. So, though this film has serious messages, it's still a quintessential comedy film, but it's a comedy that uses its psychological exploration of a fascinating character to make its point. After the laughter has worn down, Groundhog Day turns out to be one of the richest and deepest films I ever seen that I got to experience for a whole while. Not only it's one of the best, most original and clever and funniest comedies that I've seen, it also makes you think of the serious questions at the same time. It's a great film. To my mind, it's the best comedy film. No, Grant's the best film I ever seen. So for that case, I highly recommend for you folks to check it out. Please buy the Blu-ray slash DVD of Groundhog Day. It's fantastic, spectacular. So, no further ado, folks. Thank you for listening to this latest Andreas Pop Culture Guy Retrospective slash review. I'll come back again for more. And meantime, thank you so much. Please subscribe and hit that like button. And I'll see you guys later. Ciao.